I'm in the comfort of my own home. I feel safe. The children are in bed and I'm making a cup of tea. And I'm about to tuck into a Terry's chocolate orange. I'm about to do some research on the rape crisis charity RSVP for a presentation that I'm about to deliver. But for thousands of men, women and children, reaching out to this charity, going on their website, can be the first step of trying to heal from the trauma of rape and sexual violence. So who are RSVP? Well, RSVP stands for Rape and Sexual Violence Project. They're a charity that provides support across Birmingham and Solihull, and they believe that everyone deserves a life free from sexual violence and abuse. They support people who have been subjected to sexual violence and abuse, but they also offer support to the partners, friends and the people that are supporting the survivors of this trauma. Survivors can receive up to 24 weeks of counselling, and they also offer 10 weeks of counselling to supporters, partners and friends.
When I was at primary school, the headmaster abused myself and many others. And we were interviewed by the police as children. The headmaster left, never heard anything else. Then out of the blue in February 2015, got a Facebook message from an old primary school friend. It was a bit of a sledgehammer, shall we say.
Approximately 85,000 women across England and Wales have been raped each year, and 12,000 men. RSVP is a rape crisis charity. We support people across the whole of Birmingham and Solihull. Some of the communities that we serve are the LGBT community, disabled survivors, refugees and asylum seekers, children, adults who've been affected by any form of sexual trauma.
I had an arranged marriage. A few months into the relationship, he was very abusive, very controlling. I had to escape.
Survivors can receive up to 24 weeks of counselling. We also offer 10 weeks of counselling to the supporters of survivors, partners, their parents, their family and friends. And we do that because we recognise the global impact that sexual trauma can have on an individual. Some of our services are available 7 days a week. It's estimated that 15% of people report to the police after sexual offences. That means it's the vast majority of people who don't feel able to.
I was extremely afraid of who to reach out to. If I wanted this to be looked at, I would have to report it to the police, and that was the thing that I was most afraid of.
The ISVA service, that stands for the Independent Sexual Violence Advocacy. For some people, they're very sure that they want to report to the police, so we would assist them in doing that.
At RSVP, we're experiencing 40% increase. From April 2016 to March 2017, we supported 820 adults and 220 children through the ISVA service.
I've never been to court before. My ISVA was literally sat right, you could sort of touch them, so it sort of felt safe. Without their support, I would not have been able to be on the witness stand and to feel empowered.
Anybody that is either currently a client of RSVP or has been in the past can attend the free legal clinic.
Last year we trained over 900 professionals on all sorts of aspects of sexual violence and abuse. We work closely with the University Hospitals Birmingham NHS Foundation Trust with their umbrella contract, which is offering sexual health services across the whole of Birmingham and Solihull.
RSVP have been key in encouraging us to understand what it's like to sit in the other seat in that consultation room. And I think that type of training, where they clearly understand from a survivor's viewpoint, has been very important for our service.
The West Midlands Police Crime Commissioner is one of our funders. We work very closely with them.
Having a partnership with people like RSVP gives us an opportunity to work with the real experts on the ground. On our Victims Commission, they've been helping form and shape some of the other victims work that we do right across the West Midlands. Great organisation, doing great work and helping others to succeed as well.
It was so refreshing to know that there are people who will support you regardless of wherever you're from. It was the best decision I ever made.
I feel very fortunate I was able to have my say on the witness stand and to finally be believed and not judged was priceless.
In relation to the role of the counsellor and the different settings and services, for example, the placement that I'm on at the moment in Droitwich, there is an extensive range here at RSVP. They offer services for young people, they offer counselling, they offer private counselling, they offer counselling to male survivors, where they would have a counsellor specifically for male survivors. There's also a helpline for those male survivors. There's social groups where they will offer a mixed gender group that enables male and female survivors to socialise so they feel safer and less isolated. They have adult LGBT and sex worker advocacy. There's also a legal clinic as well. So they've worked with Irwin Mitchell solicitors who have teamed up with RSVP to provide free legal advice for survivors who have supported in the past and those who are currently using the services as well. So it's not just counselling that RSVP offer. There's a whole range of services that can be accessed for different groups: asylum seekers, refugee survivors, ethnic minorities, children and young people services. There really is a whole range that can be accessed here. What I love about RSVP is there's so many resources available. They've created 12 posters that can inform people on how to speak to children in relation to child abuse, and that they're actually an individual and not just a case study or a statistic. It's quite easy to get in touch with RSVP. You go on the contact page via their website and there's a phone number at the top, and then there's email addresses for the type of service that you want to reach out to. But what I really like is that the service form is so easy to download. You can tick what preferred location for counselling you require. You can tick if it's a self-referral or whether it's a referral from another agency, and the name of that referrer can be put in there as well. They'll ask you what your primary language is, if you need an interpreter, or if you consider yourself to have a disability. Then they'll ask you the reason of why you're accessing RSVP. So you will tick either adult abuse, child abuse, both, or if you're the supporter, and then you can tick the type of abuse that you would like to talk about. So whether it be rape, sexual abuse, domestic violence, or child exploitation, to name but a few. If you want some information on the self-help, you can just ask which self-help sheets you'd like, if it was a general service leaflet or a social group leaflet, or any of the other resources that are available via the website. An ISVA service is an independent sexual violence advisor. So this part is really looking at that. They will ask you the type of offence, brief details, name of the perpetrator, if you're related to the perpetrator in any way. When did it take place, and if you have reported the incident to the police. There's also details of any children who may live at the household and if the perpetrator may have access or parental responsibility to those children. And then finally at the bottom there is for RSVP office use only. So that will be details on the result of the assessment, if they were suitable for the service, and when a date and a time would be made for them to access a service. I think RSVP are a fantastic charity and they offer so much services and levels of support to women, men and young children. For me, I feel like as a counsellor, this is exactly the type of work that I'd like to go into. I feel like I'd be able to develop a good level of empathy and understanding with women. But I think I would struggle at the beginning, especially so early on in my career, to work with young children who have been victims of abuse and assault. So I need to be careful when working with young people and children. It's the right time in my career to do so. As a female, there would be some difference if I was working with a male survivor in this capacity. So it would be easier for me to work with women. However, that's not saying I wouldn't rule out working with men. I just haven't had a male client yet in any capacity, yet dealing with sexual and abuse and assault with a male survivor. Horse, slag, slut. The words used to shut us up. We're victims of assault who carry the burden thinking it's all our fault. And why don't we speak up and report? You say, I'll tell you why. In court, you'll say my dress was too short and my top was too revealing, or my face was just that appealing, that I wanted it, that I consent to it, that I enjoyed it due to a natural reaction. Lies, lies, lies. In reality, it happened just for your own self-satisfaction. You destroy people deeply, from teens to mothers and wives who now will never lead a normal life. We will suffer with constant memories of pain, all because you wanted us for your own personal gain. We aren't objects for you to beat us black and blue, to be held down and forced, potentially even stalked. You violate our bodies, destroy our mental state, give us pain that won't ever fade away. The pain we feel isn't like a cut or a burn, but the type that makes your stomach churn. Mental wounds leave us devastated by a devil in human form, leads many of us to want to become sedated with drugs to fill that void that you created. Our mental health starts to deplete. Now your deranged quest is complete. You stole our innocence, our joy, our friends, our family, even our sanity, and now you're happy. By this point, you'll think the ball's in your court. However, with the right support, victims become survivors who reclaim back control. We start to find ourselves to try and become whole. With happy and loving souls, we dictate our own paths. The attack was just a detour that we endured. Although it may take time, I'm sure we'll eventually be fine. So no, we aren't whores, slags and sluts, just survivors who had it rough.